What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 9 of the Patel Kumar Show. I am Shivam Patel, coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. And my co-host, Mr. Kumar, coming to you live from Mumbai, India. Mr. Kumar, the conference finals are really heating up. It's 2-1 right now, the Lakers and the Nuggets, and the Celtics and the Heat are 3-1. So, how are you, Mr. Kumar?
Well, first of all, namaste to you, Mr. Patel. Thank you very much, and welcome to one of the best NBA content show here on YouTube. That is the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show. And what a wonderful journey it has been for us. It is our 9th show, and we are getting to some exciting times here. Of course, there was this game, Heat versus Boston. And, Boston really needed to win that game, but now it looks very, very tough for them to make a comeback. But I think the most exciting series everybody has been talking about is the series between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. So let's get on with the show, Mr. Patel.
Yes, we got an exciting show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about all the conference finals matchups, breaking down the MVP race, which Giannis ended up winning last week. In our India Third segment, our discussion is going to be about performance-enhancing drugs and basketball. So make sure everybody stay tuned. We can't wait. We have another great show for you today. And Mr. Kumar, I'll let you take it away.
Well, I think let's start with the Eastern Conference Finals. And of course, we had that game today morning in India, which is between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. And Miami Heat with a commanding lead in that series with that victory today, leading the series 3-1. And of course, in the Western Conference, as we mentioned, Denver came back to win that game day before. And, Lakers did make a try for, to come back into that game. But as you can see, game 1, 114, 117 overtime win for Miami Heat with that block from Bam Adebayo. Game 2, again, Miami Heat, 106, 101. Game 3, it was a good comeback for the Boston Celtics, 117 to 106. And game 4 today, of course, Tyler Hero, he was the hero for Miami Heat, 112, 109 victory for the Miami Heat.
Tyler Hero was incredible, Mr. Kumar, and he's literally like a walking bucket. 37 points, making 5 3-pointers. The Celtics just had no answer for him, and he was getting to the basket, doing pull-up shots. He has a great handle, splashing 3-pointers, and he's a rookie only 20 years old, and he's playing at such a high level. He scored the most points as a rookie in the conference finals in NBA history, so he's already setting records at such a young age, and he was the reason that the Miami Heat won this game, because everybody else was struggling in the third and fourth quarter. But Tyler Hero really put the Miami Heat on his back, and he led them to a very crucial victory to allow them to have a commanding 3-1 series lead against the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it was like a rabbit out of the hat because, I think all these games, he was just averaging about 10 or 11 points, coming off the bench. And of course, the load on the Miami Heat was with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Jay Crowder. So, of course, he took on the responsibility and he got that opportunity and he shined. And as you said, he has the record for a Heat rookie, the maximum points as a rookie. I think last it was Dwayne Wade who scored 27 points as a rookie, if I'm not mistaken. But as you can see, he's in great company here, along with Magic Johnson, who scored 42 points as a rookie in a playoff game. But it was, I think Miami Heat were lucky that they got support from Tyler Hero in this game because Jay Crowder, Duncan Robinson both scored just 3 points. And of course, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo have been doing their job for the Miami Heat. But I think now Boston has dug themselves into a hole, and I don't know if they're going to be the Denver Nuggets and make a comeback.
Yeah, they're a really young team, Mr. Kumar. So I don't know if they're willing to put in that energy to be able to come back and if they're mentally ready to be able to come back from such a deficit. But Mr. Kumar, I was really impressed with the Heat's ball movement all game. Just the body movement, ball movement, cutting to the basket. There was one play that really exemplified this. Jimmy Butler was at the top of the key. He had a pick and roll with Bam Adebayo, and Bam Adebayo slipped, and two guys went to Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo caught it at the free throw line. But the Celtics players were covering the Heat's three-point shooters. But instead of just allow them to be covered, the three-point shooters cut to the basket, and then Bam passed him the ball, and then that led to a wide open three-point shot. And I think the Heat were just able to get really good looks all game. And their zone defense, I think, really made an impact on the Boston Celtics because they had long players at the top of the zone. They were getting a lot of deflections, making it hard for the Boston Celtics to pass the ball, and it resulted in a lot of Boston Celtics turnovers that I think really changed the game, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, when you talk about Bam Adebayo, I think he has been phenomenal for the Heat. Especially in Game 2. Actually, the Miami Heat were trailing by 13 points at the half, and Bam Adebayo scored 15 points on 7 of 8 shooting in the third quarter to take that 37-17 score in that third quarter and take a lead. And that way they were able to make a comeback and beat the Boston Celtics in that Game 2. So that's been the role of Bam Adebayo. Defensively as well, of course, that fantastic block that we discussed, in our last show, against Jason Tatum, who was almost about to posterize Bam Adebayo there, but in the nick of time, Bam Adebayo says, "Not in my watch."
Man, he really has been a key for the Miami Heat because especially in this Game 4, he was getting just a lot of offensive rebounds. He was really flexing his muscles. The Boston Celtics basically had no answer for him. He was ripping the ball away from players. He was just being a complete beast, which the Celtics had no answer for. So Bam Adebayo has been a really huge factor for the Miami Heat. But Mr. Kumar, I like the Heat substitution pattern. They played Iguodala a lot at the 5, to make them a lot smaller, to be able to switch on the Boston Celtics pick and roll, and to make them a little bit more versatile on the defensive end. And even though Iguodala I believe he only made like 1 3-pointer, but it was just his veteran presence on the floor, and he had a couple of great passes, and he was great on the defensive end. So I think the Heat have a little bit more veterans right now, and their experience is really showing in the series because all the games have been really close, down the stretch, but the Miami Heat have really executed down the stretch offensively and defensively, and that's why they have a 3-1 series lead against the Celtics.
Yeah, and the other story is about Boston. I think if you see the scoring pattern of the Boston Celtics, pretty much, everybody has been averaging, those 20 points, and Tatum has been averaging somewhere around 28 points throughout the series, but they just haven't got somebody to give them that superlative performance and just take them over that hump. And that's one of the key reasons. We really thought that probably Gordon Hayward coming back into that lineup would probably help the Boston Celtics. But, I don't think they've had really good answers for the Miami Heat offense. And, that's one of the key things because, again, both these teams are quite young. And of course, but Miami Heat has a better experience, as you said, with Andre Iguodala, with Jay Crowder, with Jimmy Butler. And of course, you have that silent leader in the background with Udonis Haslem as well, who's like the mentor for this young team. And he has so much of experience playing with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, Shaquille O'Neal. So I think that presence really helps a team like Miami Heat with so many young stars.
And Udonis Haslem is basically like a player coach. He really doesn't play, but he's like a coach, on the bench. And Mr. Kumar, the Celtics just came out completely flat. Jason Tatum looked like the Walking Dead in the first half. He was just not moving very well, just struggling. They were speculating on the broadcast, is he injured? But after that second half, he didn't look injured. I think he was just out of it. and they needed him to play better for the whole 48 minutes that they wanted to win. Mr. Kumar, I don't know why the Celtics fall in love with the three-pointer so much. They're really playing into the Miami Heat's hands by shooting a lot of threes. Attack the zone. Get a guy in the middle. Attack the basket. You saw, Mr. Kumar, in the third quarter and fourth quarter when they were attacking, they were putting the Heat on their heels. I don't know why they took them till the second half to do that. It's just adjustments, Mr. Kumar. And Brad Stevens is being outcoached by Eric Spoelstra, and I think there's no other way you can put it.
Absolutely. I mean, Boston Celtics is not really a superlative three-point shooting team. They average somewhere between 32 and 35 percentage in terms of shooting from three. I really think, probably it would serve them better if they're able to dominate in the paint. Because Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown have the ability to take the ball inside and probably draw some fouls as well, and put the Miami Heat in foul trouble. And the other problem that they have is controlling the turnovers, because in last night's game, Boston Celtics had 19 turnovers, whereas Miami Heat had only about 8 turnovers. So they need to control the ball more. They need to make sure they don't take unnecessary three-pointers. And of course, it's easy for us to say sitting here at our homes and commenting on TV, but the ball game is totally different when they play there. But I think this is. I would rather give credit to the Miami Heat defense rather than the Boston Celtics shot selections.
Yeah, they had some bad shot selection, though, that really fed into the Miami defense. But, Mr. Kumar, out of those 19 turnovers, 6 of them were in the fourth quarter. The Miami Heat were missing. They had a stretch where they missed like 4 or 5 shots, but Boston basically gave them the ball away even though they had that 1-point lead, and then the game just completely turned from there. But yeah, Andre Iguodala in the fourth quarter was getting a lot of steals. We've been very active, and just that they say it's Heat culture, Mr. Kumar. They have that championship culture and championship pedigree that they know that they can win big games because they played in a lot of big games. And I think it really showed, last night. And the Celtics, they're still a team of the future. And they still have to, they're still trying to improve. But I think it was just a matter of coaching, and then just he was playing a lot harder and executing better on the offensive and defensive end in the second half.
Yeah, but I think the question is, Mr. Patel, can the Boston Celtics now make a comeback in this series, or is it all done?
I think it's all done, Mr. Kumar. You can see their body language. They looked a little defeated, and they're not going to have another meeting like that, yelling fest where they all kind of get into each other. I think the Boston Celtics accepted their fate, and I think the Heat are just a better team, and Tyler Hero was just too much, for the Boston Celtics. So we asked the audience, can the Celtics continue their comeback in a series win against the Heat? And 60% say yes, but I think I'm in the 40% that say no. I think that Miami Heat are going to win this series in 5 games, Mr. Kumar, and really send the Boston Celtics home packing.
Well, I also feel it's extremely difficult for a team like Boston to come back against a team like Miami Heat, and there's no evidence so far in these 4 games that the Boston Celtics are the stronger team and they can make a comeback. So that's also one of the key reasons. So, I think it's game over for Boston Celtics. Maybe they can steal, maybe have another 1 win probably next game or something. And but I think it's pretty much all over, and I think it's going to go as a cross against you because you picked the Boston Celtics and I picked the Miami Heat. Of course, in 7 games, both of us. But I think. If you just see the matchups, I think we both thought that this series would be an evenly contested series. And, that's the reason I think we both picked this series going to 7 games. But there's, I think it's going to be difficult for this game to go 7 unless the Denver Nuggets, they go and take advice from the Denver Nuggets.
I saw a meme. Well, let's see if the Boston Celtics can come from the dead and rise up and defeat the Miami Heat. And Mr. Kumar, Marcus Smart was atrocious last night. He took off his Larry Bird mask. He needs to channel his inner Larry Bird if the Celtics want any chance of winning the series. But I don't see it, so I think the Eastern Conference Finals is going to go 5 games. And the Miami Heat, since 2014, are going to be advancing to the NBA Finals. So now moving on to the Western Conference Finals, the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. And the Lakers jumped out to a 2-0 lead, but the Denver Nuggets ended up winning Game 3 from a huge performance by Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. So, Mr. Kumar, it's your Lakers. You're king. I'll let you comment first on the series.
Oh, is that so? You want me to comment first?
Hey, it's your team, your man, Mr. Kumar, LeBron James. So I'll let you go ahead. Take it away.
Well, I mean, I think game 1 and 2, as expected. I mean, everybody probably thought that, like always, LeBron James would let probably Denver win in that first game. Let him take a feel of how the Denver plays and stuff like that. But that was not the case this time. They went on to a 2-0 lead. And of course, I mean, it easily been 2-1 Denver Nuggets for that buzzer beater from Anthony Davis, who basically saved the game for the LA Lakers and saved the game for LeBron, because he had a few turnovers in that, fourth quarter in that game too. And that's what really, basically had Denver come back into that game. But Anthony Davis, the Mamba jersey really worked, right? The Mamba jersey really worked. So, so Shahnawaz Maniar asked, who will win between LA versus Nuggets? I think it's an easy answer, Mr. Patel. I think it's an easy answer. I think the whole world has predicted that, it's going to be LA Lakers versus Denver Nuggets.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I mean, them winning a game, nobody ever predicted that this is going to be a sweep. Of course, a lot of people changed.
Except Charles Barkley.
Yeah. So as I said, that's a Mamba shot by Anthony Davis. And he shouted Kobe right after the shot. And of course, I think it was Kobe's divine presence, probably helped them,
Oh, yeah, definitely. Kobe was, Anthony Davis channeled his inner Kobe Bryant, making that huge shot in Game 2, which, like you said, they stole the game. But in Game 3, I was really impressed with the Denver Nuggets. They didn't get down on themselves. They came out really strong. They did a great job of posting up Nikola Jokic early, and he was doing a great job of mixing it up, going in the middle and going baseline on Anthony Davis. And Jamal Murray had another huge game, 28 points. But the others of the Denver Nuggets, Mr. Kumar, Jeremy Grant came out of nowhere, 26 points, like a Tyler Hero. Monte Morris, 14 points. Michael Porter Jr. had a good game. So this was all about the others for the Denver Nuggets. But Mr. Kumar, the Nuggets outscored the Lakers in the paint and on the boards. And the 4 bigs of the Lakers only combined for 4 rebounds. Yes, you heard that right. 4 rebounds, 6'10" and above players. How is that possible, Mr. Kumar?
I mean, it's a one-off game. I mean, if you think that Jeremy Grant is going to have 26 points every single game, no, that's not possible. No. If you think Monte Morris is going to score 14 points and, he's never showed up in any of the series so far. Yeah, he's been a fringe player, of course. And are you going to count on the Lakers shooting 6 of 26 from 3 every single game? No, that's not possible. And in fact, well, I think you saw a glimpse of some GOAT mentality from LeBron in that fourth quarter, especially from the 10-minute mark to about 4-minute mark when they really caught up. They were down 20 and they came back within 3, and they had 3 chances to pretty much tie up the game, and especially that step back 3 attempt from LeBron James. If that had gone in, I'm telling you, it was game over for Denver, because that momentum had totally shifted. It was a 24-4 run by LeBron, and so I think it's just that it was a one-off day for the Lakers, and so I mean, I don't think that this is going to be repeated, again in Game 4. And if you want me to go out on a limb and make some prediction, I think Lakers are going to beat Denver by 15, 17 points to be precise in tomorrow's game.
Oh, really? I think the Lakers are going to come out more with a sense of urgency and playing a lot harder. I think they pulled a Los Angeles Clippers, Mr. Kumar, didn't take the Nuggets seriously in Game 3. I think they thought they were just going to lay down and be enamored by the Lakers on their chest. But, for Jamal Murray, he's just been incredible this whole playoffs. Like Jokic said, I truly believe he's a superstar. He's really, becoming well known. He's putting the team on his back, and he's had some insane performances, in this playoffs that's really allowed the Nuggets to have a deep playoff run. But back to LeBron. Mr. Kumar, I was disappointed LeBron James missed that step-back three. He also missed a mid-range shot. LeBron's got to make those shots because if he does, the Lakers are going to win this game. And if he's the best player in the world and best player on the Lakers, he's got to seal the deal in that game, Mr. Kumar, on a young Nuggets team to allow them to have a commanding 3-0 lead, in the series. But Anthony Davis needs to be more consistent. He was not even, looking to go inside. He was just camping out on the three-point arc. And the biggest advantage for Anthony Davis is going inside because no Jokic or Paul Millsap really have no answer for him down low. And the Lakers need to do a better job of points in the paint and getting to the free throw line more, which they lacked of in Game 3.
It just like basic shift of strategy. And I think, as you said, their energy was low. I want to thank our previous audience. He did mention that he saw me at the Savio Cup. So, Mr. Patel, I'm a little bit more popular than you in India, but you're more popular among the ladies in the US, I presume. So, nevertheless, yes, as you said, I think Anthony Davis needs to really dominate. 2 rebounds in 42 minutes. That's just insane. That just shows that you pretty much didn't go inside the D at all, or you pretty much. You're at 7 foot. You're scoring 27 points, and you're catching 2 rebounds. That's like so. I think the Lakers were out rebounded by 19 rebounds. Of course, they had more transition points of turnovers, and of course that solid game from Jeremy Grant. And so again, I don't think this is going to repeat. But at the same time, I do not dismiss the Denver Nuggets. They are a formidable team. They have shown that with the Utah Jazz by coming back 3-1. They've shown that with the LA Clippers coming back 3-1. So they do have the ability to win games. So they're not like...
Oh, man, Mr. Kumar, that music, I love it. It was so dramatic. And I think that was very telling, because when Anthony Davis was with the Pelicans, he was like a cub. No one really took him very seriously. But now he joined the king. And now with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, it's like a lion roaring to the jungle. Everybody is scared of the Lakers now, and they don't want the smoke, Mr. Kumar. So I love that meme. That was very funny.
But I love that meme for another reason also. I think, that's the the quality of LeBron James is to basically elevate his teammates. And I know it's a very intangible thing. And Bhushan Suryavanshi, yes, I did mention that that comeback in that fourth quarter from the Lakers could have ended in that Lakers win just for those couple of shots by. I think Kuzma had that opportunity. Caldwell Pope had an opportunity, and of course LeBron James with that step back 3. But as I said, LeBron has that ability to elevate his teammates, and that's one of his qualities that really makes him more valuable than some other players. And I think we're going to discuss that anyway, in our section later on. But what do you feel in general in terms of whether Denver can really make this a series?
Well, Mr. Kumar, the recipe for the Denver Nuggets is they need to lose Game 4 and go down 3-1 because it seems like they're very comfortable in that position. But no, this is not, Mr. Kumar, in respect to the Denver Nuggets, this is not the Utah Jazz. This is not the Clippers. This is the Los Angeles Lakers, the purple and gold. The Lakers are not going to fold down 3-1 or up 3-1, excuse me, on the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets, this is a must-win tonight, Mr. Kumar, in all seriousness, if the Nuggets want any chance of winning the series, because I think the Lakers are going to start getting their gear together. I think they're going to learn from last game and take the Denver Nuggets seriously. And I think the series is going to end up going to 5 games only, with the Lakers winning 4-1.
Well, let's hope so, because we both thought like this series going to 6 games, and we also discussed like who's a better passer, LeBron or Jokic. And of course, I think it's natural that people have chosen LeBron, and I would have chosen LeBron as well.
Oh, no surprise there! Wow, I'm really shocked, Mr. Kumar, that you're going to choose LeBron James. No, I also would choose LeBron James in this, because he is the best passer in basketball. He has been the last decade. But I have to give Jokic this, Mr. Kumar. I think Jokic, by the time his career is done, I think he can be the best passing big man in NBA history. He can be with the Chris Webber, Arvydas Sabonis kind of players that are incredible passers, especially at the center position. And I think Jokic is really developing that. He has eyes in the back of his head. He's thrown some lasers, and I think he has a great chance. But right now, I have to give it to LeBron James at age 35, year 17. We have asked another poll saying, should the Lakers thank the Nuggets for beating the Clippers? And I say I agree. 67% say yes. And right now, if the Nuggets didn't beat the Clippers, it would be the Lakers and the Clippers playing in the Western Conference Finals, which I think, as everybody knows, I picked the Clippers, and I think the Clippers would have won the series, but the Lakers ended up playing the Nuggets.
Why would you want to speculate a team which has lost in the second round after having, probably turning their roster upside down to, make a championship run? I think you can call it whatever it is, but it's the Denver Nuggets playing the LA Lakers in the conference finals, and it's not the Clippers. So if your ifs and buts don't stand a chance here, because the Clippers really blew up their chances of playing. It would have been a dream matchup for sure. I think the whole, basketball community or NBA fans, everybody were expecting the Clippers to play the Lakers. So, am I happy that, the Denver Nuggets came into the finals? I think no. I think the Lakers were pretty much ready for whoever came their way, because ultimately they wanted to compete for the championship. So they had to go through the conference finals. So it just happens to be Denver Nuggets now.
But Mr. Kumar, the Clippers would have been ready for the Lakers. I know we're speculating, but the Clippers were literally built to beat one team, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. But we would never know, Mr. Kumar. Maybe next year they'll play in the Western Conference Finals. Who knows? So Paul Thomas is saying, I'm a huge LeBron fan, but Tyler Hero is playing so good that I'm somewhat rooting for the Heat to win. I'm with you, Paul. I think the Lakers are ultimately going to win the championship because they have the easiest road, but I'm rooting for the Miami Heat to win deep down, but I think it's going to ultimately be the Los Angeles Lakers.
Are you rooting so hard that you're going to pick, in the pick'em section, you're going to pick the Heat to win?
Oh, man, Mr. Kumar, we got to stay tuned for next week's episode. That's going to be the final, so stay tuned, everybody. Will I pick the Miami Heat for the upset, or will I go with the favorite in the Los Angeles Lakers? And we ran another poll asking whose playoff performance has been more unexpected, Pandemic P or George Paul or playoff Rondo. And it seems like the audience believes playoff Rondo has been more unexpected.
Well, I mean, they just feel it's unexpected because he's playing just like a veteran that any team needs. He has that championship experience, playoff experience, and I think he's been wonderful, especially when LeBron James is on the bench making those right decisions for the Laker team. But I mean, can you imagine George Paul having this nickname for him, Pandemic P? And I think it's just disheartening to see that this kind of nickname is going to stick with him till he performs, in the next year's playoffs or whenever he gets that opportunity.
Oh man, these nicknames are going to definitely stick with him because he's played like George Paul, just an ordinary guy in the NBA playoffs. And Mr. Kumar, if you allow me, just quickly before we move on to the MVP, just to put a bow on the Lakers and Nuggets, I just wanted to say for the Lakers, some adjustments and some things to look out for tonight. Look for the Lakers to play zone more because when they made that run in the fourth quarter, they were playing a zone defense and LeBron was at the top and also Rondo, and they were just being really disruptive and really took the rhythm out of the Denver Nuggets offense. Also, I believe they should start Dwight Howard and put him on Nikola Jokic because JaVale McGee tries, but he's just not big enough and strong enough to pound with Nikola Jokic. So I think Dwight Howard's going to be more physical with Jokic, and I think they should start him right off the gate.
Well, Bhushan Suryavanshi says Jokic should be called Jadugar, or as it basically translate. Of course, does not translate, but his nickname is the Joker because he's a magician in this game. Absolutely, I mean, very young player, and the sky is the ceiling for somebody like Jokic. Even a team like Denver Nuggets. It's a great experience for this young team to come up to the conference finals. Of course, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the following games, but I think Coach Malone, the teammates, especially with rookie Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, Murray, having a young core, it's very important. I think they're going to go a long way, definitely in the coming season. So good luck to the Denver Nuggets, but right now it's the king. It's the king who's going to stop them from going into the NBA Finals.
Exactly. I agree with you. Right now, the Denver Nuggets are a team of the future. They have definitely a bright future. They've overachieved this season. But yeah, the Lakers are just more experienced. LeBron can see the path to his fourth championship and third MVP for three teams in the finals. And Anthony Davis is hungry to get his first championship and really prove the doubters wrong that he can be an important piece on a championship team. So I think it's all about the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fantastic next few seasons in the NBA. We have a lot of young teams like Boston Celtics, Miami Heat. You have the Phoenix Suns also coming up. They had a fantastic run in the bubble. The Denver Nuggets. So I mean, I think it's going to be a great couple of seasons because all these teams are going to get that experience. All these players, young players, going to come back, and it's going to be tough for teams like Golden State Warriors and the Clippers, and the Lakers is getting much older now, especially with LeBron playing in the 18th season. So yeah, even Giannis, he's pretty young. I mean, he's what, 25?
25, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great stars upcoming in the NBA. Luka Doncic, the Giannis. Remember, Kevin Durant's coming back next season. So the NBA is in great hands with all the different star power that they're able to put out there. And this Western Conference is going to be just insane next year with a lot of great teams, with the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Clippers. So I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch. But we got a champion to crown this year before we can get to next year, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, so let's I think head on and go to our next section where we're going to be discussing about Giannis Antetokounmpo winning back-to-back MVPs, the MVP for the 2019-2020 season, getting 85 of the 101 votes, for the MVP race. And, of course, a lot of people thought, a close contender with LeBron James. I think Luka Doncic came in third and James Harden came in fourth in that race. But congratulations, of course, to Giannis. But unfortunately, his team couldn't go past the Miami Heat in the second round. And that's another dud playoff for Giannis and his team. So I think we're going to have a great debate here if, to think if Giannis or LeBron, more reasons to win the MVP. So, I think Giannis was the most dominant player, but I think, come on, what is that?
Giannis Antetokounmpo, the MVP, the real MVP, ladies and gentlemen. Giannis Antetokounmpo at 25 has already had 2 MVPs, and he's one of the best players
Come
in
on,
the
you
NBA.
can do that. You can do that, man. You can.
It's all about
This is
Giannis and the
whack.
Milwaukee Bucks.
This is whack. I think I need to come up with an answer as well. So just wait and see.
All right, all right, all right. Not handle me wearing this Giannis jersey. My argument's going to be too strong for him, so he had to walk off the show, and he doesn't want the smoke, everyone. But everybody, we know that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the real MVP at age 25. He's been the best player in the regular season on the best team in the regular season, the Milwaukee Bucks, who had the best record. And forget about the NBA playoffs. Giannis struggled. But in the regular season, he was completely dominant. And ladies and gentlemen, he does not have an Anthony Davis as a sidekick. Anthony Davis is a top 5 player in the NBA, while Giannis has Chris Middleton, who's like a fringe top 20 player. Oh, Mr. Kumar, get out of here. Get out of here. Everybody knows that Giannis is the MVP, man. Don't try to bring that in there, Mr. Kumar. Come on. You know better.
I think only 85 people who voted for Giannis really think he is the MVP. But if you go and ask a lot of other people on the street, they're going to vote for LeBron James. And I'm going to throw you some more stuff at you. This is James.
Oh, take off your LeBron glasses, Mr. Kumar.
Another James. I'm going to throw so many James at you.
Oh, Mr. Kumar, you need to get off the Lakers bias, man. You know that Giannis is the MVP. It's no question, hands down. Giannis Antetokounmpo averaged 30 points, 11 rebounds, and about 5 assists this season, shooting 54% from the field. 54%. That's such a high mark. And he's been the best player, in the regular season. And he's had the best so his PER this season is second of all time, Mr. Kumar. So he's just been utterly dominant. Like I said, back-to-back MVPs. You tell him, Giannis.
All right. I mean, okay, I give you so much that he's been the most dominant player, this season. As you said, he's just playing 30 minutes. He's averaging 30, 11 rebounds, and of course, I think 5 or 6 assists as well. But I told you in the first episode whether what is the definition of valuable, right? You can have so many arguments, you can have so many points that you can discuss, but everybody told that LeBron James can only win in the East. He did that for like almost 9 years. And then he moved on to the West, and he's proved that, Lakers are number 1 in the West. They're playing in the conference finals, and they have the best chance to probably win the championship. And as LeBron James says, 16 out of 101. Okay, he's going to prove. He's going to prove that, the MVP, the season MVP, of course, is, anybody can take it. But what is more valuable is getting that finals MVP and that shiny little trophy that probably Giannis missed 2 opportunities. Last season, also, he was the MVP, and he missed that in the conference finals against the Toronto Raptors. And again, this time in the second round against the Miami Heat.
But Mr. Kumar, you were talking about LeBron James. Can he win in the West? Well, remember, Mr. Kumar, in his first year in the Western Conference, he didn't even make the playoffs. He got hurt, and the Lakers were completely wiped out and fell short of the playoffs. So I think this year he's had a revelation year. He's really been able to prove that at age 35 he can win. But Mr. Kumar, Giannis does not have a top 5 player in the NBA like Anthony Davis. His sidekick, he's stuck with Chris Middleton. Like, come on. It's not even a fair comparison, Mr. Kumar. Giannis is more of an all-around player, and I think he does more impacts winning on both ends of the floor. But he even has a Defensive Player of the Year award.
Absolutely. I think only the 3 guys in the NBA to win Defensive Player and MVP, along with Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. I don't deny the fact that he would have easily won that MVP race. But what I'm trying to say is that the yardstick keeps changing every year. I mean, you had Russell Westbrook, who scored a triple double, and he won the MVP that season, and he was knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. You had James Harden, top scorer. Of course, he's one of the best scorers in the NBA, and he got knocked off, I think, in the second round that season, in the playoffs. So what I also think is that, of course, everybody had dominant seasons. A lot of times when you're playing in the East, some of those games are not really, competitive, especially for some teams like the Milwaukee Bucks. I really tell you, the Milwaukee Bucks would still be like the fifth or sixth team in the East, even without Giannis, because the other 4 or 5 teams are like, Washington Wizards, which didn't have John Wall. You had Orlando Magic. You had the Brooklyn Nets, of course, because there was no Kyrie Irving and KD. But at the same time, if you take LeBron off that team, I don't know. I think it's a very competitive West. I don't know if the Lakers qualify for the playoffs.
Mr. Kumar, did you just say that if Giannis was not on the Bucks, that they would still be the 5th and 6th seed in the Eastern Conference? I don't think so. I think they would even make the playoffs, because you saw their supporting cast in the playoffs. They were just pathetic. Dante DiVincenzo struggled. Chris Middleton struggled. So was Brook Lopez. I think this team would be a lottery team without Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that just shows you how valuable he is. And he led his team in win shares per 48 minutes and led the NBA in plus minus. So he's had a great impact on the game at all levels. And I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to continue to get better and to continue to play well in the regular season to rack up MVPs. But he was the best player on the best team, Mr. Kumar.
Oh, well, best team as per records, but definitely not the best team, in the playoffs. But when you're talking about, the dominance, it's because of Giannis that some of the other players don't really get a chance to shine. But I would still think Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, DiVincenzo, I think Wesley Matthews. This 5 can really compete in the East. It's not like as if they're gonna be obliterated in the East, like the New York Knicks or something like that, right?
No. I'm not saying
yeah, but they're still a formidable team. So that's what I'm trying to say is that, but if you take off LeBron from the LA Lakers, just with Anthony Davis, I think it's a different ball game altogether. Of course, you would need Rajon Rondo to be playoff Rondo probably throughout the season if they really need to qualify. And that's not possible. And you know that. But at the same time, I think what LeBron has done coming into the West and, being the number 1 team in the West in the regular season, and of course, now in the conference finals, and of course, a lot of people giving him the chance to probably win another title, because the Clippers are in there, according to you, that just proves that he elevates his game whenever he needs to. I think that's one of the key problems with Giannis, is that he needs to take more accountability, more responsibility in terms of taking his team, over that hill. And that is something, of course, he's young, he's 25 years old, and probably he'll learn that in the following seasons. But at the same time, it's all about statistics. I think the whole MVP race has become a statistical race rather than seeing the intangibles.
But Mr. Kumar, also, that Giannis would also elevate his players also, because Chris Middleton wouldn't be playing as well. Dante DiVincenzo, I think he empowers them, and he gives them the ball and puts them in positions, to be successful. And I think Giannis has been really underrated because people really appreciate his true dominance, in the regular season. He can literally get to his spots, get where he wants to. Teams have really no answer for him. But I also disagree that the East is weak, Mr. Kumar, because as you've seen in the playoffs, the Boston Celtics are a very formidable team. Toronto Raptors defending champs. The Miami Heat, we can't forget about them. So the East, they had some strong teams in the Eastern Conference, but the Bucks just blew everybody away, and we're just that head over heels, just better than everybody. And that was, I think, due to Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I think he's only gonna continue his dominance in the regular season. And Mr. Kumar, the MVP is a regular season award. So Giannis was the best player in the regular season, Mr. Kumar. They had the best record by a landslide if Giannis didn't get hurt. So I think there's no denying that.
Yeah, of course. I think he just won it by a whisker because I think LeBron was elevating his game in that last few weeks just before the pandemic hit. As Justin says, Giannis definitely played better overall for the entire season. I think just when LeBron was like kind of elevating, he played great against the Clippers. He played great against Bucks itself. He was just trying to probably catch up in that race. And of course, we asked the audience if the MVP award take into account playoff performance, and 72% say yes. And I feel so too, because it's a different ball game in the playoff. Let me tell you, Mr. Patel. Because it's because the defense is better. And that's what happens. In the regular season, a lot of times, you just take some games not so seriously and stuff like that. So it's a little bit hard in terms of predicting what happens. And come playoffs, usually what happens is that the teams are more serious. There's better defense. It's more physical. All those kind of stuff. So that's why I think taking the playoff games into contention is also, I think it's a wise decision. But as they say, the most valuable player, award is pretty much a regular season award, and of course not. But I think they should have probably a regular season MVP, a playoff MVP, and then the finals MVP, of course. So, so it's a very difficult situation. But yes, congratulations, to Giannis. He definitely had, a fantastic season. But I think everybody is going to question whether Giannis does really have the ability, in terms of proving himself in the postseason as well.
Mr. Kumar, did you put me off because I was destroying you with the Giannis MVP discussion? No, I think that MVP should stay.
I didn't want you to disturb me while I'm having that wonderful argument there.
Oh man, no, your weak argument that I completely blew through. No, the MVP should stay as a regular season award because it is the best regular season player in the NBA, and Giannis has been that. I think we should not have taken into account his postseason performances. Because remember, Mr. Kumar, LeBron James didn't win his first MVP till the age of 28. Giannis has 2 at the age of 25. So I think the audience and the NBA fans, Mr. Kumar, I think are a little bit too hard on Giannis. He's still developing as a player. And I think there's question whether he'll stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. But as Giannis said, don't count how many MVPs I have, count how many championships. And he is definitely going to win multiple NBA championships before his career is done.
Yeah, well, as of now, Giannis has met with the owners, and he is currently at least claiming that he's going to probably stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. And, we never know, of course, what's going to happen in the offseason, last season as well. Nobody ever thought that Pandemic P would be actually moving to the Clippers. Actually, Clippers moved heaven and earth to get Pandemic P. So, I just saw a tweet, yesterday that for the next 8 years, I think the Oklahoma City has like 15 first-round picks. So yeah, so I mean, it's so Bushan also says, of course, the season ends with the NBA Finals. Well, I mean, that's why, there's a regular season MVP and, finals MVP. And I think when you were not there, I was saying probably they could add another MVP, like the playoffs MVP or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's a different ball game there. But I think most probably a team going to the finals usually wins, NBA Finals MVP. So
Right, but and usually the NBA Finals MVP is a playoff MVP because he's been usually dominant throughout the playoffs, and there's a reason why his team won the finals, and he's a Finals MVP. So we asked the audience question: should the MVP start taking into account playoff performances? No, capital No. I'm in the 28% to say no. The regular season award, postseason should not take any into account because there's a Finals MVP.
Yeah, because you definitely say no because you very well know that LeBron James has had a better season if you count the playoffs. So that's the
He
only
had a
thing.
better team in the playoffs.
सुल्तान अबे रुक सुल्तान ए ए ए क्या कर रहा है अबे क्या अबे लगता है अबे लग रहा है छोड़ अबे अरे क्या बोल रहे हो अरे नो
That's exactly how.
Oh, Mr. Kumar, I think
That's exactly how all the LeBron fans feel.
Mr. Kumar, I can see that. You're in the streets of Mumbai and you see somebody wearing a Giannis jersey. You chase after him and be like, no, not in my house, man. There's no Giannis fans allowed. It's all about LeBron James. So I bet you can relate to that meme very well, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, of course. I feel like coming onto the screen and ripping off that T-shirt off of you.
Giannis, the
Lakers.
Greek freak.
Lakers. Anyway, let's move on. I think we had a fantastic argument there, but congratulations once again to Giannis. But moving on to the spiciest section on YouTube, the Patel and Kumar NBA talk show Indian Tadka section.
It's getting hot in here.
Well, I think there's been some sensational news, breaking news, of course, is that Arshpreet Bhullar, who is a part of the Indian national team, has been basically tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs during the national championship that happened last season. And of course, because of the lockdown and of the NADA, which is the National Anti-Doping Agency, didn't get to work till now. So, but that's really a big blow for Indian basketball, considering that you also had Satnam Singh, who was also tested positive for a PED, that is performance enhancing drug, and then it was followed by Amrit Pal, who was also tested positive. But of course, Satnam and Amrit Pal are basically challenging that particular incident, and they have different, of course, reasons for that. But I think I don't know what's going on. I think the Indian players are having a different type of tadka. I mean, it's really sad for Indian basketball. But I can fathom like really why all of a sudden. I mean, this has just been a phenomenon in the last 1 year that we are having so many players testing positive for PEDs, and of course there's Amjot Singh as well, who was banned for having a brawl with Arshpreet Bhullar during the national camp. So almost the top 4 players from the starting 5 of the Indian national team, have been banned for some reason or the other. So it's a sad situation for Indian basketball.
It definitely is, and it's unfortunate. But in addition to the Indian basketball players, there's also some other Indian athletes, rowers, weightlifters, runners, boxers that also tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. So it's just not the basketball players. But Mr. Kumar, I feel like the doctors need to be held a little bit more accountable because it's the players, they should know better, but the doctors also play a role in the players taking these supplements and knowing which ones are good to take and not. So I think it's shared responsibility, and I think everybody needs to be held more accountable and needs to be better in the future.
Absolutely. I think one of the key reasons, especially with Indian basketball, is that probably, these kind of systems have come into place pretty much, just a couple of years ago or something, that players get tested during the national championships. And of course, when they're, having a national camp for the Indian national team and stuff like that. So it's a little bit, of catch-22 situation, because they really need to get oriented in terms of what kind of medicines or drugs that they can take, so that it doesn't affect them in terms of the testing. So because I know in Amritpal's case, he had probably a bad chest congestion, and he took some cough syrup, and that cough syrup had some ingredient which is probably banned by the National Anti-Doping Agency, and he's not even contesting for that particular case, and he wants to have a hearing with the agency so that he can explain his stance. So basically, these people need to have some kind of a helpline so that they can probably check with these doctors if they're getting prescribed some drugs by the local medical practitioner.
Exactly. That's well said, Mr. Kumar. And as far as, the NBA, for rookie, they have an NBA rookie orientation where they really try to educate these rookies on which, supplements and drugs they can take and that are legal to take, whether, they're sick or whether, they're injured, so that they're aware and that they know beforehand, which ones are acceptable or not. But the NBA also had a couple of, PED suspensions this year. DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns and John Collins of the Atlanta Hawks both got suspended for 25 games earlier this year for testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs. In the case for John Collins, he took a growth hormone, which tries to increase muscle and energy. So they ended up getting in trouble for that. So I think the players, definitely need to be better. But as far as the NBA, it's more of an isolated kind of case. And so I think that Indian players just need to be a little bit more aware and be a little bit more accountable to know, so that they can be able to perform for their team and are doing the right things.
Absolutely. So, it's when something like this comes up, it's usually the players are automatically, considered as, villains, or, the culprit there in terms of that they have taken drugs. But I think they have that, opportunity to basically appeal with the anti-doping agency and explain their stance in terms of why it happened, or it happened inadvertently, because probably they didn't have the knowledge of what kind of medicines to take. But I think it's a little bit of a debate as well, that a lot of players are also calling for, the players should be stripped of their medals, because Punjab won the gold medal in the national championships, and Arshpreet Bhullar, Amritpal, they were all, Satnam Singh, they were all part of the Punjab team, right? So, it's already a growing debate. Of course, there's been a long time which has passed as well, pretty much since the national championships happened. So it's a catch-22 situation there. I think the federation and the sports authority need to take responsibility of making sure that these players, have in-depth knowledge about what they should be doing in case they fall sick, and what kind of medicines they can take.
Right. And I don't know how often these Indian basketball players get tested, maybe before a competition or maybe in the off season also. But as regarding the NBA, these players can be tested up to 4 times, and they have a sample A and a sample B for when they're tested. And if sample A is positive, then they'll send sample B to another lab. And there's been some cases where when some players have huge performances in the NBA, they ended up getting tested. Like Danny Green had a big game. Michael Porter Jr., Nuggets rookie Bull, he ended up getting tested after having a big game. So I think the NBA wants to make sure that these cases are isolated, that they do not, tarnish their image. But Mr. Kumar, I read some stat like in his entire NBA history, only 13 players overall have been suspended because of performance-enhancing drugs. Think about it. As long as the NBA has existed and as many players that they've had, only 13. So I think the NBA is doing a great job of enhancing their anti-drug program and making the players aware of what's acceptable or not. And the players, maybe except John Collins and DeAndre Ayton, are following that. But I think those players are going to learn from their mistakes going forward.
Absolutely. So let's hope for the best for Indian basketball. Hope, these players are able to basically challenge and probably their provisional ban, or the permanent ban is lifted off by the anti-doping agency. So we'll have to probably, remain patient about that. And I think we'll hear more about it in the coming days. So we'll keep reporting on what's going to happen. But I think we are almost coming to an end of the show. Please connect with us and follow us at Patel and Kumar on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the Ekalavyas channel and to watch this show, and put a reminder every Thursday, 7 p.m. Do not forget the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show is going to be live on YouTube.
Yes, we're going to be there every Thursday, 7 p.m. The best basketball coverage out there. You don't want to miss our episodes, as the conference finals are really heating up, and we're really close to the NBA finals, and it should be some really exciting basketball coming up. So I would like to thank everybody for tuning in, and of course, all the audience comments. And remember to subscribe to the Patel Pick and Roll. Also subscribe to the Patel Pick and Roll YouTube channel, Ekalavyas, and also follow us at all the Patel and Kumar social media channels on Twitter and Instagram. So thank you again, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace out. Giannis! Greek Freak!